Imagine discovering that your body actually has a hidden backup copy of its youth. And science is currently figuring out how to hit the reinstall button. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we're looking at 30 years of research from Harvard professor Dr. David Sinclair to answer this radical question: what if aging isn't an inevitable fact of life, but a treatable condition?
It's just a complete paradigm shift,
Right.
honestly. We are so conditioned to accept that getting older just inherently means, getting frailer and sicker.
Right.
But the data points to this decline as more of a solvable biological error rather than this inevitable one-way street.
Okay, so let's get into Sinclair's information theory of aging. I love the vinyl record analogy from the research here. Think of your DNA as the beautiful music pressed into a vinyl record.
Yeah, that's a great way to picture it.
And then the epigenome, which is basically the chemical control systems turning your genes on and off, that's the record player's stylus. So aging happens when daily living adds all these scratches to the vinyl, the stylus skips, and suddenly the cells start playing the wrong songs.
Exactly. And the biological mechanism reading that record relies on these proteins called sirtuins. You can kind of think of them as the sound engineers.
Sound engineers, okay.
Right, they're trying to keep the track playing smoothly by making sure the right genes are active at the right time. But, and here's the catcher, these engineers have a second, much more urgent job, which is DNA repair.
So they have to multitask.
Yeah, basically. When daily stressors cause chromosomal breaks, the sirtuins literally leave the soundboard and rush over to fix the physical damage.
Wow. And if they're constantly rushing off to fix damage from, say, background radiation or just say, standard metabolic stress, do they go back?
Well, that's the issue. Over time, they don't always find their way back to their original spots. So as more sirtuins get permanently displaced, the cell suffers this kind of identity crisis.
Oh, meaning genes that should be silenced get turned on and vice versa.
Yep, a skin cell essentially forgets how to be a skin cell.
Yeah.
And that progressive loss of epigenetic information that is the actual physical manifestation of aging.
Wait, okay, this is where the logic from the sources seems to contradict itself a bit. If the entire goal is to prevent those sirtuin sound engineers from abandoning their posts, why is the primary lifestyle advice to deliberately stress the body?
Right.
Like fasting, high-intensity intervals, aren't we just adding more scratches to the record?
It totally looks like a contradiction until you understand the mechanism of hormesis. It's biological adversity, but it's carefully manufactured.
Manufactured how?
Well, we aren't causing catastrophic DNA breaks with, like, a heavy dose of X-rays. We are just triggering ancient survival circuits. When you skip a meal or sprint until you're gasping for air, you simulate a resource crisis.
But how does a fake crisis actually protect the epigenome?
Because that perceived threat forces the body to synthesize massive amounts of a molecule called NAD. And you can think of NAD as the direct power source for those sirtuin proteins.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, when you flood the system with NAD, you hyperactivate the sirtuins, sending them into overdrive to repair the epigenome and, re-silence the genes that have gone rogue.
So next time you skip breakfast to stretch out a fasting window or you're panting on the treadmill, you aren't just burning calories, you are actively flooding your cells with NAD.
Exactly. You're also absorbing chemical adversity signals when you eat stressed, colorful plants,
Stressed plants. Like what?
like blueberries or matcha. They are packed with polyphenols precisely because those plants had to survive a lack of water or excess UV radiation. You ingest their stress response molecules, which further activate your own sirtuin network.
That is so cool. But hacking our biology to slow down the accumulation of scratches is one thing. Reversing the damage we've already done requires a totally different mechanism.
Right, and this is where the concept of epigenetic reprogramming comes in. By using three specific genes derived from what are known as Yamanaka factors, scientists actually found a way to scrub the epigenome of its accumulated chemical tags.
Specifically, the DNA methylation that causes cells to age, right?
Yes, it literally accesses that pristine, youthful backup copy we mentioned earlier.
So they aren't just preventing the stylus from skipping, they are actively buffing the scratches out of the vinyl.
Exactly. In the lab, they use these three genes to reset the age of optic nerves, making them 75% younger.
Wait, really? 75%?
Yeah, and the functional result of that reset is staggering. They successfully cured blindness in mice and primates simply by clearing that epigenetic noise.
Wow. And with human trials fast approaching, we're looking at the very real prospect of directed age reversal. It just fundamentally proves that your DNA is not your destiny.
Not at all. Up to 90% of your rate of aging is dictated by your epigenome, which means it's heavily influenced by how you choose to live, eat, and move. We have far more agency over our biological clocks than we ever realized.
Absolutely. So I want to leave you with a final thought to consider as you go about your day. If epigenetic reprogramming eventually translates into a safe, accessible pill,
Which is the ultimate goal here.
right, and you could physically remain 33 years old for over a century, how does a 200-year lifespan completely rewrite the timeline of your career, or your education, or even how you approach marriage?
It really changes everything.
It does. When the scratches on your record can simply be buffed out, you have a whole lot more time to play the music.